viewers, welcome to another episode of Monday Live by Raju Law. For today's session, I am Orpa as your host. To give an enlightening speech and answer all your questions, we have our principal and founding attorney Raju Mahajan with us. So, let me welcome Mr. Raju Mahajan to this week's Monday Live. Mr. Mr. Mahajan, can you please unmute your mic? We cannot hear you.
I'm so sorry. Thank you very much, Orpa. Well, I thank you very much for inviting me here and letting me know that my microphone was muted. So yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Mahajan. So, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
How are you?
So, I am also fine. Thank you so much. For today's topic, we have EB1 for distinguished athletes. So, while Mr. Mahajan gives his speech, you are welcome to share your queries with us in the comment section. So, Mr. Mahajan, can you tell us about the distinguished athletes for EB1?
Yes. Thank you very much. I would like to get my PowerPoint presentation shared. Yeah, thank you very much. So first of all, I would like to tell our audience that last week, last Monday Live, we talked about EB1 a green card application for STEM professionals, and today we are talking EB1 a green card application for athletes. Many things I'm going to tell today will be the very same like last week, because this is the same kind of application, only for different group of people. Many of the ideas, many of the concepts, many of the evidence would be overlapped. So please don't feel like, oh, he already told those before last week. So yes, I told those before, but today we are trying to focus only on athletes, coaches, referees, those kind of sports people. So I'm trying to customize, but there may be some overlap. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. So yeah, why EB1 visa for athletes? This is a big question, because this kind of visa application is designated for individuals with extraordinary ability, and most of the sportsmen, athletes, coaches, referees, they are very extraordinary in their field. So this is a very prestigious application for you. Also, it's a self-sponsorship, meaning you do not need any sponsorship from any club, any organization, or anyone. Also, good thing is you can apply from anywhere in the world. You even do not need to come to America. So for many employment-based applications, you need employment here in America, and your employer is going to apply for you. But here you can apply by yourself from anywhere in the world. So this is the beauty of EB1A visa. The next reason is there's a shorter waiting period. Many of you already know that because of the visa bulletin, there's a waiting period for many immigration categories, but for EB1A, this is the shortest one. So why not take advantage of this beautiful and very prestigious visa category? Next slide, please. So but what does actually an extraordinary ability for I even forget to change the headline. It's for athletes. Yeah. So if you are a coach, athlete, or referee who has achieved national or international acclaim, coached elite teams, officiated at prestigious global events, outlined 10 criteria, and you need to meet at least 3 of those 10 criteria. However, I must tell you, try your best to meet at least 5. If you meet just 3, sometimes what happens is we claim that you meet these 3 criteria, we send your application to USCIS, and USCIS will say, oh no, you did not meet this criteria. They will probably deduct 1 or 2, and then in that case, your visa application will not, your EB1 application will not be approved. In that reason, I advise you to try to meet at least 5 before you send your application to USCIS. Next slide, please. All right, national or international recognized prize or award for excellence in the field. So this is one of the very key elements. Even though there are total 10 elements, you have to meet at least 10 criteria, you have to meet at least 3, but this is one of the most important. So if you do not meet this criteria, I advise you not to apply for EB1A, because without national or international award, it's really hard to get EB1A approved. So the significance of these awards, along with their national or international standing, must be considered. There are some awards, some prizes, some awards are not very internationally reputed, internationally or nationally reputed. So reputation of the award is very important. If you get receive an award from some unknown, shady kind of organization or something, USCIS may not approve your application. So please note that predatory awards or those requiring payment for certification may hold significantly less weight. So if there's any organization they're telling you, hey, pay us some money, we'll give you some award, most likely those award will not be helpful for your EB1A application. For athletes, these criteria can be satisfied by demonstrating receipt of prestigious honors awards such as medals in international sports, competition, player of the match, man of the match, man of the tournament awards, top accolades in prestigious national competition or similar distinction. So let me give you examples. Let's say you are a cricketer and you played in an international match and you were man of the match or most wicket taker, or you scored a century in that tournament. Those will qualify for for EB1A application. So man of the match, man of the tournament, best player of the tournament, best batman of the tournament, batter of the tournament. So this is the recent term. So those kind of things are very important for EB1A application. Next slide, please. This is the continuation of the previous. So coaches can qualify for demonstrating receipt of Coach of the Year or similar accolades from national or international sports federation. Referees and umpire can also meet this criteria by earning recognition for officiating at high-profile tournaments, such as being named referee of the year or similar distinction. So at the end of the day, what you have to do to meet this criteria is you have to receive a prestigious award related to your field, and then it can be national or international, and then you qualify for EB1A. Next slide, please. This is also another continuation. These honors must reflect excellence in their field, highlighting their status as a top performer on both national and international stage. With proper documentation, this criteria becomes a sure shot for a sports professional. It's true, sports professionals, they receive a lot of awards. It's kind of very easy for you to do, but make sure that those are good awards. Next slide, please. Membership in associations. So for athletes, this can be made showing their membership in a national team, which indicates they are among the best in their country. So, you probably heard about that test playing club or, national team club kind of thing. So you can be member of, or you can be like, a club with players who scored 10 centuries in international match, or in soccer or football, let's say those who scored 20 international goals. They're kind of like it's not like a formal club, but it's kind of like loosely associated club that can also meet this criteria. For coaches or match referees, this category can be satisfied by demonstrating membership in professional organizations that are internationally recognized for excellence in coaching or officiating. So yeah, international or nationally recognized association can also work for this criteria. Next slide, please. These organizations typically have a stringent entry requirement, accepting only individuals who have demonstrated themselves to be among the top coaches or referees at the national or international level. Meaning, those organizations cannot be like a random organization where everybody can just go and become a member. The organizations must be like high standard organization. There must be an entry requirement. There must be a selection procedure to be a member of that organization. Next slide, please. Published material about his or her work in professional or major trade publication or other major media. This is another very easy to do for athletes, because in every newspaper there is a page for sports, and they publish a lot of articles, a lot of picture about athletes and other people. So this is kind of easy for you to do. However, there are some requirements. Please remember these things. Two key points need to be established here. Number one, the reputation, circulation number, and ranking of the trade publication media. Meaning the media must be a reputed one. It cannot be like a very new, very shady, nobody reads kind of newspaper. It cannot be that. It must be a reputed media. Number two, the published material directly talks about the petitioner and his work. This is another important thing. So let's say there's a publication, probably your picture is there, but they even don't talk about you. It's not about you, it's about something else. Sometimes we see that it's not good for you. So the publication must directly talk about you and your work. So these two are very important. Please try to meet this requirement. Also, these publications cannot be self-authored, meaning you cannot write about yourself. You cannot write about your performance. It must be done by a third party, another writer, probably a journalist from that media or someone else, but cannot be you. It cannot be self-authored. Next slide, please. Sorry. So for athletes, interviews, profiles, or articles published in major sports publication, newspaper, or TV, which feature their performance in top level competitions. That's also important, because if the competition is a very simple, like a second division, third division league, it's not that prestigious, and it will not meet this requirement. It has to be like a top level competitions. For coaches, features that focus on their leadership and strategy, expertise kind of thing. For match referees, and umpire can also meet this requirement by showcasing media coverage of their officiating in important matches. And it's not that they just mention about your name. They have to say why you are significant for these matches. Sometimes, of course, in most of the sporting events, people focus on the game and the players, but sometimes you'll see that media talks about the umpire, referee, coach, because they're so significant in their field that media want to make sure that people know about them. So you have to be one of those, whom media pay attention to. Next slide, please. Judgment of the work of others, either individually or on a panel. Athletes who have been invited to judge competitions or who have served as mentors to younger athletes or fellow competitors can meet this criteria by highlighting their role in evaluating and guiding others. Coaches can show evidence of having been selected to evaluate talent for national team, elite sports academic, or high-level competitions such as selection panel for national team, professional league, or prestigious sports academics. So, to qualify for these criteria, you must be judged. So you're judging the quality of another people in the same field. So it's not that you are just coaching other people. You are evaluating the performance of other people to be selected for something. So this is another significant criteria. Next slide, please. For referees, umpires, this could include being part of any international, national competition or referee assessment program where they assess and provide feedback on the performance of fellow officials. Very same concept, like athletes and coaches. You have to evaluate the performance of others in your field, and this indicates that you are expert in your field. Otherwise, they would not call you to evaluate others. Next slide, please. Original contribution of major significance. So, this is another important, and sometimes athletes, coaches, and referees, they struggle to meet this criteria. But you have to remember two key points here. Number one, contribution must be an original creation of the petition. It must be your contribution, your original creation. And two, such contribution must be significant in the field. So, sometimes some contributions are so insignificant, so little, it's very hard for us to establish that. So two criteria to meet this criteria. Number one is contribution must be original by you, and it must be significant criteria. So for example, players, coaches, or referees who have introduced new strategies, techniques, or methodologies that significantly impacted their sport can use this to meet the original contribution of major significance criteria. So let me give you an example. So let's say Lionel Messi. He is the most important soccer player, football player at this moment in the world, and let's say he developed a technique, and many other young footballer, many other young soccer players, they follow it, and they are also they are also doing better with this using this technique. Let's say a very as a cricket player, like a bowler, a fast bowler, he developed a I remember Shoaib Akhtar. When I was very young, Shoaib Akhtar was a um, very fast bowler of Pakistan that time, and like most of the batters, they struggled to even play his balls. So let's say Shoaib Akhtar's technique has been followed by other younger bowlers, and they're doing good. Similarly, let's say a coach introduced a technique, very unique technique to make sure that his players are doing better. So it must be your original contribution. It's something that you personally discovered or invented, and also it is significant in the field. So if you meet this criteria, then you can show those things, evidence of those things. Then you meet this criteria. Next slide, please. Players can highlight how their unique playing style or techniques have influenced the way the sport is played. Coaches can point to innovative training program or game strategies that have transferred team performance or team widely adopted. This is example Pep Guardiola's tiki-taka football strategy is a prime example influencing teams around the world. By the way, when we talk in this kind of video over YouTube and other place, sometimes we give some example which is like the most famous example, and sometimes some of the audience, they say, oh, I'm not as famous as Pep Guardiola, can I apply for EB1? The answer is yes, you can. When I talk about Pep Guardiola, because he's very famous, it's easy for our audience to connect. When you talk about Lionel Messi, Sachin Tendulkar, Shoaib Akhtar, they're very famous people in the field. So I use this name so that you can easily connect with me, but you do not have to be that famous. You do not have to be, this reputed. You can be a young star in your field and you can still qualify, but your original contribution must be significant. That's all you have to take from this, this criteria. You must have original contribution and that must be significant. That's all. You don't have to be someone like Pep Guardiola to qualify for EB1. Yeah, of course he would, but I'm just saying. All right, referees can showcase their role in implementing new officiating standard or technique which have enhanced the accuracy and fairness of the game. So whatever you do, whether you're an athlete, your coach, referee, team manager, whatever you do, you have to do something, and that must have a significant contribution in your field. Next slide, please. These contributions must demonstrate a lasting and far-reaching impact on the sports, further underscoring the petitioner's extraordinary ability and influence with proper documentation. This criteria becomes a sure shot for a sports professional. It is true. Most of the sports professionals qualify for this one. It's kind of easy for them to meet. Next slide, please. Authorship of scholarly articles. So most of the athletes, they struggle to meet this criteria. I'll be very honest with you, because most of the athletes, they don't write anything, they don't publish anything. However, sometimes you do it, and if you do it, you can meet this criteria. And also, this is a self-authored thing. Unlike the previous one, media coverage that cannot be self-authored, this is kind of the opposite. It is your authorship. So coaches, referees, or umpire can satisfy this criteria by publishing works on team management, game strategies, or training techniques. For instance, like for example, Sir Alex Ferguson's co-authored the book Leading, where he discusses leadership and the strategies that brought him success during his time managing Manchester United. So Alex Ferguson was team manager for a very internationally famous football team, and he wrote a book about how to about the leadership. And this is the example. Sometimes players, they write book about next slide, please. I'm going to talk about that. Yeah, next slide. Yes, like athletes can meet this criteria by writing article or book about their performance technique or their personal experience. For example, Sachin Tendulkar's autobiography, Playing It, my way, sharing insights into these training techniques, mental preparedness, and his career journey, influencing many aspiring cricketers. And it doesn't always have to be book. It can be just an article in a newspaper. For example, you're writing about your technique, how you become a famous athlete, famous player, and also how others can learn from you. Sometimes it doesn't have to always be technique. You can write the sports as a whole, how sports impact a society, how younger people, they learn many good qualities, many good things from sports. So that can also be the topic of the publication. But whatever you do, it must somehow connect it with your background. Next slide, please. Display of work at showcase. This is very easy for athletes, coaches, and referees, umpire, because the entire point of sports is the showiness of this. You display that. So let's say you were an athlete, you participated in Olympic Games, or let's say you were a football player, you participated in a national league. Let's say you were a cricketer and you participated in a national, IPL kind of games. So anytime you showcase, you display your performance, you meet this criteria. Coaches and referees, the same thing. They do their job in a especially if it's a prestigious, like national or international game, that's very easy to meet this criteria. Next one, please. Performed a leading or critical role for organizations. So this one is not as easy for athletes, coaches, and referees like other professionals, because most of the athletes, and coaches and referees, they're not part of organizations. However, you can meet this criteria. I'll give you some example. So the organization must have a strong reputation in the field, which cannot be fabricated. So you cannot just say, ABC organization, a member of the, ABC organization, and I had a leading or critical role for this. The organization itself must be very famous, must be, well reputed. Also must be leading or critical to the organization's reputation, financial, social, or other interests. So your contribution must be leading or critical. Please pay attention to this term, leading or critical. Evidence is very important for this kind of, to meet this criteria. You must have letter of recommendation, published materials about the organization, about your role, how leading or critical it is, kind of things. No, yeah, back, please go back. Yes, please. Okay. Now the question is, what are the examples of organization, like a club, like in a sporting club, society? There's a lot of society, federation. So let's say you are a member of, I'm just giving an example, South African Cricket Federation, and you played a very leading and critical role for South African Cricket Federation's formation, their increase of their business, there's their social impact and all other interests. Then you can meet this criteria. So there must be a good organization, and your contribution must be leading or critical. Next slide, please. Yeah, high salary in relation to others in your field. This is also very easy to show, because most of the athletes, coaches and referees, they make good money. So and also the money can come from your income from the national team, private clubs, prize money, advertisement. A lot of athletes, they advertise for different products, brand ambassadorship. It is for any kind of income. You can show this, and in general, you make enough money anyway, so it's kind of easy for you to show that. Next slide, please. Commercial success in the performing arts. Sometimes it's hard, because sport is not actually performing art. However, sometimes, so let's say there is you wrote a book about your personal life, and then later they made a film about your book, about your life, your biopic. Then yes, you made a commercial success in performing arts. So it's kind of rare. It's not very common, especially for young promising athletes, but it's possible. If you cannot meet this criteria, that's okay. Next slide, please. So now the question is, so those are the 10 criteria, and you have to meet at least 5, like officially 3, but I recommend you to meet at least 5 criteria. Now the question is how you build your case for EB1A. Begin by gathering all documentation and showcases your accomplishments. This is very important, because in legal world, without evidence, we cannot say anything. You can be like a super genius, athlete, and if you do not have any evidence to support your claim, then you are nobody. So evidence is very important. Try to collect all documents and showcase, showcase of your achievements in one place. Ensure that each document is clear, credible, and verifiable. Clear, credible, and verifiable. Verifiable very important. Sometimes we get documents and there is no way to verify it's true or false, it's accurate. So this is very important. Strong recommendation letters from well-established professionals in your field are particularly crucial. These letters should emphasize not only your achievement, but also their broader significance and impact on the industry. So the person who is giving your recommendation letter must also be a famous person in your industry. Ideally, you should obtain letters from senior, researcher in a sports industry, probably not researcher, but someone significant in your field. Next slide, please. It's vital to demonstrate that your work has had a national or international impact. Simply excelling in your local area is not enough. You must prove that your contribution resonate and make a difference on a broader scale. Quality of your achievements are the most crucial. So a lot of time, many of our clients, they come up with evidence that of achievements, they're not very good quality. There's a lot of, so let's say awards. So you receive a lot of awards, but none of those are like very famous awards kind of thing. So it's the quality is more important than quantity. Please remember that. And also try to avoid same achievements to meet multiple criteria. So try to show the same example for multiple criteria. This is another common misconception. So let's say you received one award and you try to show that award to meet all the criteria. That's not good, because then USCS officer I will tell oh, this guy has nothing else to say. He just keeps saying the same thing one after another. Very last thing I would like to say, have your own website with good SEO, meaning when we submit your application to USCIS officer will just Google your name, and if they find your website, with all these, good quality picture and everything, that will make them happy, and it's good for your applications. That was my presentation today for EB1A for athletes and other sports professionals. I'm going back to Arpa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mahajan, for such an amazing presentation. So we would like to answer some questions that has been sent to us through email. So, Mr. Mahajan, let me ask these questions first. What type of awards or honors do I need to show? Do team awards count?
It depends. Award, it must be in your field. So let's say, as I said, if you're a cricketer, and let's say you were, man of the match of a big national tournament or big international tournament, then you can show that. Let's say you were like man of the player, best batter of the tournament, best bowler of the tournament, so something like that. So it depends on your sport. It depends on the, your background. Anything that will showcase. Anything that will strengthen your application to be an extraordinary person, that will qualify.
Okay, wonderful. Let's move on to the next question. Can national awards count, or do they need to be only international?
No, national award counts too. So let's say for in the if I give you example about Bangladesh, so BPL, I think it's called Bangladesh Premier League. It's a cricket tournament that will also qualify. So if you are man of the match of a game from BPL, yes, that qualifies.
Thank you so much for the answer. So here is another question, that I've been featured in sports magazines and interviews on online platforms. Do they count as media coverage?
Yes, it depends on the online platform. If it's like reputed, if it is like let's say millions of views, thousands of subscribers, then it will count. But if it's like very new and only a handful, like let's say 500 likes or something, then probably it will not be enough. But yes, online coverage is also a part of the media coverage.
Okay, great. So the next question is, how can I demonstrate my leadership role on the team, such as being a captain? Does it work?
Yes, that definitely qualifies. Yes.
Okay. So the next question is, if I have played a key role in my team but not as a captain, does that count toward EB1A criteria?
Yes, not everybody has to be captain. You can, let's say you played another very significant role for something and you are not the captain. That's okay.
Okay. Here is another question. As a coach, how can I show my leadership guided my teams to championships?
Yeah, so let's say you were coach of a team and they become champion. So this result by itself is a display that you did great job. Also, you can get recommendation letter from other team management, like a board president and other people, and they will write that because of your leadership as a coach, the team did so good. So it must be some form of evidence, like a recommendation letter, or even like, let's say a newspaper wrote that just because of your leadership role, the team did so good. So any kind of evidence will be good enough.
Okay. Thank you for the answer. So the next question is, does officiating high profile matches as a referee or umpire count toward the EB1A criteria?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Thank you. The next question is, how do I prove that my salary is higher than others and what financial documents should I provide?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you very much. It depends on the country. It depends on the area you live in. So some country has like a very good. So anytime you have been appointed as a as a coach, referee, or player, I'm pretty sure there's a contract about your payment, your job, your everything. So that job contract, pay stub, bank statement from your bank, all this can be can be evidence of your payment. Now the question is, how do we establish that you received higher payments than your peer? So we have to receive similar kind of information. So sometimes some market research organization, some business journal, business newspaper, they talk about the standard payment of that area. So we have to establish that you received higher than the standard payment. It's easy in some countries. It's not as easy in other. Like for example, in America, it's very easy because if we go to the labor department statistics, we get pretty much standard payment for everything, and then we can compare your salary with them, or your your earning with the standard earnings. However, in some countries like Bangladesh or India or Pakistan, probably there's not enough statistics, like standard statistics. In that time, it can be difficult, but we can get recommendation letter from again the board president or someone important from your industry, and they can say yes, you received higher salary than most of the other players. That will also qualify as a acceptable evidence.
Okay, wonderful answer, Mr. Mahajan. So here is another question. Do I need to provide details of how much I earned from sponsorship or commercial deals?
Yes, if you want to meet this criteria, you have to disclose. If there is anything that you want to hide, you don't want to show that to USCIS or American government, that's okay. But if you do not show them something, then they will not know about it. But if you want to claim that, so let's say you had a deal with a this is a good example. Let me tell you. So let's say Starbucks. You were a brand ambassador for Starbucks in a country, and then Starbucks become very unpopular. People did protest against that company, and you give up your ambassadorship, and you do not want to identify anymore about the ambassador for Starbucks. You can definitely not disclose that. In that case, you can either show that contract to USCIS or not. It's up to you. But USCIS will not disclose any of this information to the public. Everything is confidential within the USCIS network. So it's up to you. But and if there's any other question related, it depends on the case by case basis. We can also talk. We can also let you know which is important to let USCIS know, which is not. We can guide you with that.
Thank you, Mr. Mahajan. So the next question is, does being featured in a documentary or biopic help with the commercial success criterion?
It does if the documentary or biopic is widely accepted. It's a popular one. If let's say someone made a documentary about you and there's only like 10 views, then it will be very difficult for us to establish. But if there's a biopic and let's say it's in YouTube and there's like a thousands and thousands, probably millions of views, then yes, that will definitely qualify.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mahajan. So the next question is, who should write my letters of recommendation and what kind of information should be included?
Anybody who is expert in your industry, anybody who is expert in your field can write recommendation letter for you. And in the recommendation letter, they must talk about themselves, like why he or she is very significant in that field. And then they will also talk about you, your contribution, and the relationship between you and them. So we have a template. Once you start working with us, we'll give you sample template, but it's very like anything that is logically related to a letter of recommendation will also qualify for that.
Okay, here is a most asked question, that what specific documents do I need to submit to provide my eligibility?
All this criteria. So pretty much what I tell my clients, please submit anything that you have to us. And then we will decide which one to keep and which one not to keep. If there's anything else we need, we'll tell you. So yeah, you have to support all of your claims with evidence. Again, in legal world, without evidence, we cannot say anything. So you have to provide a lot of evidence.
Okay, thank you. Do I need to provide translation or certifications for these documents, international documents?
Yes, if there's any document that is in a foreign language other than English, you have to provide a translated copy with a certificate that the person who translated this document is competent in both your language and English language. So there must be a certified translation for any document that is not in English.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mahajan. So here is the last question from the bunch. How significant are national and international rankings or records in my EB1A application?
I would say significant. If you are in a international ranking, so let's say you are within the top 50 soccer player of the world, that will definitely make you qualify for EB1A. So yeah, international ranking is important.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Mahajan. So our question that came through the email is done. We can see in the comments that Nurul Aziz has said that, Assalamu alaikum, sir. This is Nurul Aziz, EB3 applicant, through your sincere guidance. Thank you so much, Mr. Nurul Aziz, for recognizing us and acknowledgement. So, okay, Mr. Mahajan, thank you so much for such an amazing presentation and answering all our questions. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much. And I thank everyone for watching this show. We'll come back on next Monday about some other topic. Until then, have a wonderful day.
Thank you. So with that, our question answer session ends. And now let's move on to the immigration news for this week.
Raju Law is one of the top immigration law firms in the USA. The success rate of Raju Law is over 99% in fulfilling the dreams of people from other parts of the world to get an American green card. Family-based, employment-based, asylum and green card related services are available under one umbrella at Raju Law. For any immigration related services, contact the address and phone number shown on the screen. You can also mail to info@rajulaw.com. Raju Law is your safe address for any assistance and advice regarding immigration to America.